My name is Ian Utilli. Welcome to Beachside Tech Talk. I'm here with my son Malachi,
Hello.
my brother Dan,
Good morning, everybody.
and we got Nigel coming in from the East Coast.
Gratitude champion. What's
The
good?
Gratitude Champion. The Gratitude Champion. Dad is surfing, and Ted's in Portugal. So for those that joined us last week, we got 4 of us coming at you today, and it's Tech Talk time. So Malachi and I just came back from Manila, Philippines, where we did our 7th Philippine Blockchain Week event, which is a huge blockchain AI event that happens in Southeast Asia. So Malachi, we like to open up the show talking about the future. So what did you hear or see in the last several days that maybe inspired you a little bit about the future?
Well, obviously, it being a blockchain-centered event, a lot happened in that range. So there was obviously a lot of crypto stuff, a lot of new technology in general. But something that surprised me was, as much as that was cool, I really, really enjoyed the people I got to meet. There was this person named Sam. He is like one of the most strong-willed human I've ever met.
No doubt.
And he inspired me so much, and I feel like it was so beneficial to me to get to meet him. He once, when he was a kid, he was on a hike with some people, and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna put a bunch of rocks in my bag and take it to the top. And so he did. And then when he got home, he had red rashes all over the places where his backpack was on his chest. And it's just like he just told himself he was, and so he did. And that like grit and will, I just really respect. And it was amazing to get to meet someone like that.
Sam is very incredible. When I did my 40-day water-only fast 2 months ago, so just drinking water and salt for 40 straight days, Sam decided that seems like a great challenge. I'm going to do that. So Sam not only did a water fast for 18 days, and he had never done a water fast his whole life, but he also was working out like 2 hours a day, not light working out. He was like preparing for an Ironman while he was doing a water fast. And so he didn't make it 40 days because he pushed it a little too hard. However, it taught me a lot about Sam. He had a friend that had signed up for a marathon last month, and his friend couldn't make it. So his friend talked Sam into doing the marathon. And Sam's like, all right, I'll do the marathon. He ran the marathon in 3 hours.
Wow.
26.2 miles. Wasn't preparing for it. He just did it because his friend couldn't make it.
And that
And-
was a week right after he passed out from doing
about a
18
week and
days.
a half. And so the thing about a guy like Sam is the type of person that has a very strong vision, right? Like he knows how to visualize finishing a marathon in a good time, or doing a water fast, and because when he and I would talk, he'd always be talking about what's going to happen, where he's going to go. And I think that's a big part. Nigel, I'm assuming you got to see some of the activity that happened in Manila. You and Dan came with me and Professor Bates to Manila in September. Dan got to come with me a second time last year. Did you see anything that stuck out to you? I know we were live for the better part of a couple of days.
Honestly, I was dealing with some other family issues, so I didn't really get to see too much of it, but I can speak to what I have seen when I was there. I think that is a, to speak to what Malachi just said, the people you meet at the events in general, I think that is to me the best part of being at an event, because technology is great, and you can learn technology just by sitting at your computer reading a book. You can learn it in many different ways. But even as I know, Danny and I talk about things, there's a whole different perspective when you come to a conversation having some common knowledge but not all of it. And then the ideas start to exchange, because you never can tell what is going to spark that, be the catalyst to move the needle. They'd be like, oh, I didn't really think about that. Or that's an interesting perspective. Or you just said something that's random. You're like, wow, that gave me an idea. So I know for me, as someone who writes often, who journals, who does those types of things, I find myself now having conversations where, you're in that flow. You take so much from those moments, and it could be life changing just in that instance. So the technology and all the other pieces are just incredible. There's so much happening now that we can take advantage of, but I cannot stress enough how valuable it's been to be at these events and talk to the people there about specific items, even items that you've already spoken about. I don't think you can
Yeah.
possibly, give enough about that. So, yeah.
It turned out to be so much more valuable than I ever thought it would be. I thought like the technology part's cool, and I thought I was just going for that, but having that almost like common ground where you kind of skip that like first meeting each other phase because
You're already at war together.
yeah, and like we already both know my dad very well, and we already have all these common things that we both know. And so meeting all these people, I felt like I just immediately started talking to them and like an actual good deep conversation. And it just felt so valuable to me to get to have those interactions and meet those people and learn about different cultures. Like there's so many people there from different countries, not just the Philippines. And it was just so amazing. I really was not expecting it. And so I'm so glad I got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Philippines is an amazing country. I think my biggest takeaway from it was I was amazed at how involved that culture is in the new tech.
Big,
I mean, I feel like
big
coming
time.
back after a couple times, it seems like we are a little behind in America.
Compared to them, yes.
And then the drive that they actually, when they're on something, they're pretty much relentless to what they do. There's really not a time clock schedule on it. They'll, push through. And I don't know if that's because of their economic position, but I took away that there's a lot for me to do also. Use that as a encouragement value for my own life, that you're seeing another country that is maybe less developed than some of the more newer countries or the more affluent countries, but the people and the culture is still pretty much the same. And even if not, more value goes to families and how they operate with their work situation and their work ethics.
They
So
spend more time online than any other country in the entire world.
I thought it was Asia for a while, because just be simply for the fact of population. But I mean, hearing what you're
Yeah.
saying,
They're still the number one country. They clock in at like 11.3 hours per day per
Crazy.
person.
Wow.
And there's a lot of places in the Philippines where they can't even get enough power to charge their phones. But if you're in Manila, which is the metro area, is 26.2 million humans live in the Manila metro area alone. Basically, everyone has one. Many of them have 2 or 3 phones, and they have phones to do things. So they have a phone, which is one phone is their bank, and that's like where they protect all of their assets, and that's where they do all their transactions. And that phone is like, that's the super protected phone. Then they have a phone for fun, for social media, and that's where they're logged into every single account, and they have no security protocols, and everything's about going live. And then they have a third phone that's like for their job.
or
So,
family or people,
yeah.
personal
It makes
people.
it sound like phones are cheap, but aren't they really expensive there?
The types of phones that most of them are getting are a
refurbished.
refurbished phone that
Yeah.
was used in a developed nation 2, 3, 4 years ago. So, for instance, we gave a dozen iPhones away at the event, at the end, which was a blast. I mean, there's like 150 Filipinos around our thing, because we had like over 1,000 come through our booth, and they spun the wheel. And then if you hit the grand prize, you got to be in the drawing for all of our shirts, all of our stickers, a bunch of tokens, and a phone. So you gave a dozen phones away. This was a huge deal for them.
Huge.
They
That's like us getting a car or something, right? I mean,
not quite, but it's still a big deal because the daily wage in that area is $10 a day, so just over $1 an hour. So if we gave iPhone 11s away, and so those brand new here cost a couple $100. They're about 300. So for someone to get basically a month's wage, that's obviously now maybe they have a nice job online and they make 500 or 1,000 or even $1,500 a month. But still, having that type of gift is big, and they're just so plugged in online. So every time they see something happening in technology or culture, they go, "Okay, that's the next thing," and they're in it. We'll be back in a moment to talk more about AI and what's happening today and how we're feeling about it. Try to share some insights with all of you. Hello, Internet. Thanks for joining us.
what's his name?
Internet. I'm talking to the World Wide Web right now. So, Carl, if you're still with us, it was great to spend time with you. I saw that you reposted the stream. Thank you for that. Looks like we got about a dozen or so people hanging out and joining us. Thanks for being part of our daily show. So, for those that are tuned in online, I got Nigel from the East Coast with us. I got Dan and Malachi with me here in the studio. I also have Kenton, my 12-year-old, and Nathan, my 8-year-old. They're hanging out and joining us as well. And we're going to jump back on in 2 minutes. This is kind of the radio show breakdown. So we start 6 minutes after the hour. We go for 11. This is the Future Talk. And then a 2-minute ad break. Eventually, we'll be running ads for our friends and sponsors and folks that want to participate in this in the future. So we have one or multiple video ads running. And then we do the second segment, which is on AI. Another little ad break for a few minutes. Then the blockchain segment, 2-minute ad break. And then finally talk about past stories for the most part. And so that's the breakdown of our daily show. And the reason I wanted to do this daily show here at KOMY is I love this radio station. It's been here almost 100 years. It's a big part of our culture here. And my friend has just taken over one of the two stations. There's KSCO 1080 and there's KOMY 1340. They both have similar reach, and they both basically reach 1 million or so residents or more. But obviously, many people think radio's dead. Actually, radio's doing pretty well compared to other mediums of broadcast. All right, it's time. And I love this place. That's why we're here doing a show. Plus, it keeps me consistent making content for all you people that crave it.
Oh, don't we crave his content?
My name is Ian Utilli. Welcome to Beachside Tech Talk. 1340 a.m. KOMY, coming to you out of the Monterey Bay. Officially La Salva Beach, California, which I kind of like the sound of La Salva Beach. My brother Dan and I, we built some homes over in the La Salva Beach area. And technology changed quite a bit as we built during those. Dan, you and I probably built for 10 years together. You built with Dad for several decades. And we saw technology change quite a bit. So what's your take on how AI technology is playing into something as non-tech as the construction field?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think that everybody's starting to see AI coming about simply for probably when they go to their Best Buy store or they're ordering tech things online. The home automation has become quite a hot commodity now, with just being able to set thermostats, turning on and off lights. They have refrigerator integrated softwares where you can start making a grocery list on your refrigerator as things start emptying out on the shelf, that it's actually keeping track of, oh yeah, your milk is getting low. But probably most importantly is that they're coming out with, they have a new AI It's a CAD system, like in printing, 3D print. And they've made the 3D printers that are, I think they stretch about, it's like a small crane. And they are printing out a thin layer of concrete. And the wet concrete goes around in a circle, and they're able to build the whole house from ground level to ceiling level. They're not doing roofs yet with the pitches and angles, but they do your whole floor, walls, and to your ceiling in a 3D print that takes about 2 weeks to do. The cost is exponentially less. There's no fire because if it's concrete, there's no termites you have to worry about. Insulation values are incredible. So I think in the next few years, we're going to start seeing, and they're starting small. You're not going to do big custom homes. So I think this is going to move into
Like the tiny home.
Yeah, into the tiny home area, because it's just so it's a robust system.
And electric, plumbing, gas, all of it's inside
Everything
the walls.
goes. They build a column, a center, like a void inside. So it's just the 3D printer rolls around in like a circle. So let's say like a racetrack or something, and then everything goes inside. Every few layers, they start setting rebar and steel into it, and then they stop at about 3-foot level, and they start running wire, the plumbing, and they create little voids for the plumbing to come through the wall and stuff like that. But the point is that they're going to eliminate a lot of need for wood. The insulation values are great, because you don't have to insulate concrete walls necessarily, because it'll stay cool in the summer and warm in the winter. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how in construction, how the AI is just going to bring along people that'll also let us lower this rate of these cost of homes, or these new homes that they're building, the tiny homes. It's going to make them more accessible for middle class.
Yeah.
So looking forward to it.
Yes. It is amazing. Nigel, a lot of your career has been writing. Can you talk with everyone a bit about how AI in the present moment has come into the writing world, the corporate writing world, where you made a living, also just the social media posting writing world, where you'd have a lot of fun? And maybe one thing you could touch on is how people can try to think of these AI tools as collaborative tools that can help them be better at their tasks, whether for fun or for work, and not just think of it as a competitive bad thing, but maybe as a collaborative positive thing.
That's such a great question. I'm so happy you asked it. I think never has writing been more important, even though I think there will be a perspective that writers are done because AI can do everything for you. I haven't found that. I find that what we're talking about here is the difference between the value of a handwritten note and a text message. Now, someone like Gary Vaynerchuk, who I follow and I like, he often talks about, or he's spoken about that. What's the big deal about a handwritten note? Well, I'll tell you what the big deal is, and then I'll tie it into what it is. If I sent you, Ian, a handwritten note, and I took out a piece of paper, I wrote something down on it, I put a stamp on it, I went to the mailbox. Logically, intellectually, there's no comparison. There is zero comparison. I have actually invested time and effort into doing something, physically going and mailing it to you, or even putting it on your desk, dropping it off at your office. That's not a text message under any circumstance. Similarly, I believe to AI, what you're going to find is folks who want to take that, this is going to be, maybe unpopular, lazy approach. Oh, look, AI, I can avoid doing work. And I feel like that's the wrong. I write. I don't need AI necessarily to write. However, what I'm capable of writing and reproducing, the level, how it stacks up, it's very different, simply because of the inputs. Garbage in, garbage out. I said this before on one of the podcasts. The bottom line is, it's only going to make you more of what you are. So what are the values of specifically what you said? What are the values of people looking at this as a collaborative tool? When Danny and I have a conversation talking about whatever it is. I may not understand what it is, but we can get a very quick common ground on what it is by using a trusted, authoritative source. And not only just getting that source, but getting that source to explain it in the way he understands it for him and the way I understand it for me. Very hyper individualistic, explanations of what it is. So now we're on the same page. That alone gives the level of conversation a whole different context. So in the same way video has come a long way of, people saying, oh, we want authentic content. Same thing's going to happen with AI. You notice now, the things that people are saying, incredible. They sound amazing, almost too amazing.
Right.
Especially if the person's whole presence
So
or
true.
brand is not that. You sounded not great a month ago. Now you sound like a Rhodes Scholar, who's been seasoned by the best. Is that really you? It's the
that ties
opposite.
into like the schooling right now. How like
Please.
with kids who start using ChatGPT, they go from having, let's just say, mediocre style of writing, and all of a sudden they're writing in a way that they never have before, and it's weirdly good. It's like, that's a little fishy for the teacher. And then also the teachers have all these resources that you can use to find out if it's AI. But then also sometimes those fail, and they say that kids use AI when they didn't at all. And so you have this whole bad situation. And another important thing on this topic overall is that like AI hasn't proven to be able to make its own ideas yet. I saw a thing recently by Apple that they made a bunch of these hard questions for AI to do, and they were even using the quote unquote reasoning models that are supposed to be able to create their own things. And they did really good at the basic questions. The medium questions they kind of struggled on, but they were still able to do them. And then the hard questions that they'd never seen before, they had no idea what they were doing. They were almost more wrong than just using a normal model instead of reasoning. And so it brings up this question of like, since we have so much data that it looks like that they have taken, it almost looks like they're making their own new ideas just because my brain hasn't seen that before. And so I think it's a while until we reach what people call AGI, artificial general intelligence, where it's generally intelligent about everything and it has that humanness where it can figure things out. We're not there yet, but I'm pretty confident that researchers will be able to find a way to get there. It's just a matter of we don't need to be too scared yet, in my opinion.
Be bold.
For you, what does bold and courageous look like to engage with AI? Because you spend a lot of energy, Dan, on learning the tools, engaging, figuring things out. Where does that line where you say, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to study this, I'm going to try this, but this is a bold, courageous move?
Yeah, it seems like I find myself taking more breaks than I ever have before. I'll get an idea or get excited about a certain subject, and first I'll start talking to whatever my AI agent is, just to start getting maybe
Get the ball rolling.
Yeah, get the ball rolling, let it talk back to me, and am I clear in my vision? And once I get kind of focused on whatever it is, the subject matter I'm going to, then I can start freely questioning. And for myself personally, what I'm finding that is being most helpful is by not using one agent, because the different platforms, all the data, I believe, is the same. It's trillions and trillions of pieces of data. Each company is pulling off of that data, but then they are approaching it to how maybe more specific, how we want this AI to do. Are we leaning more towards an education? Are we leaning more towards entertainment? Are we leaning towards more professional areas? And by using the different AIs, you're going to start being able to pull out what you need from each individual agent. So,
thank you for joining us here at 1340 a.m. KOMY, home of Schoolhouse Radio. We'll be back again in just a moment.
Did you almost say?
I almost said 1080. I'm like 10. No, I'm not going to say 1080.
You said at 10. You go at 1, 3, 4, 0. Get that straight.
Because I got the 1080 sign in front of my face all the time.
Yeah, I'm not saying I've never seen anything about that about the radio, but I keep seeing this. And anytime that I like tell someone or
grab that so they can hear you on the internet. So Nigel can hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's stickers all over the microphone, so I'm sitting here and I keep looking at it, and I'm like have to look away or tell myself stop looking at the stickers. This is KOMY.
That's right.
Is he about to have a Ron Burgundy moment?
I know. That was fun, internet. Thanks for staying with us. Next, we'll talk blockchain. Anybody want to jump in first? Anybody have anything on their mind when it comes to present blockchain stuff? I was going to prepare a whole week. If maybe I'll do that for the next 4 days, but we basically spent 4 days over at mom and dad's house.
Well, it's great to. It wasn't just a Father's Day; it was a
Father's weekend.
It was a Father's
long weekend.
Yeah. And then I think Dad's gonna be. He texted me today and said, "Hey, I'm gonna take off down to Carmel."
Oh yeah,
with the wife for a couple days.
Oh yeah, he wants a break.
We were gonna take the dog, but you think you'll be around? Of course I'm gonna be around. It's still Father's Month.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, good for them. It's got to be great to be able to live a full life,
right,
and be able to enjoy. What a crazy thing that we live and work and so much and so busy, and we don't really think as we live this life that seems long, but it's still very quick. That what are we going to do when we want to have fun?
Right.
Being able to not have to get up in the morning and have to go here, and you're always on a time schedule.
Yeah.
What a wonderful thing.
Speaking of having fun, when, Nigel, are you bringing the fun here?
He's done that this morning.
When are you bringing the fun here with your presence?
He did that this morning.
He's here right now, bringing the fun.
We'll have to figure out when the fun's coming.
He's an internet
I want to know
sharpshooter.
when the fun is coming.
You're going to see a big sign that's going to say incoming, incoming, incoming.
Nigel's an internet sharpshooter. I'll tell you that right now. Relentless. I don't think I've met anyone who can deliberately go and go and go without the give up. He just, if it's there, if Nigel's got a point to make or something he's trying to find out, it's no sleep till Brooklyn.
No sleep.
That's what I'm saying. But it's there for us. I'm interested in what Malachi has to say on perspective on some of this stuff. For sure.
So, okay, you can start us off on blockchain.
What am I saying? Find out.
I got that song, No Sleep in Brooklyn, just banging in my
classic.
mind.
How does it go, Dad?
Nigel.
No
Man from
sleep.
That's how you pass that on.
Delegation.
Classic
Malachi,
tactic.
we're no doubt. Everyone here in Santa Cruz loves those guys. Lots of No Sleep Till Brooklyn banging through the car windows over the last several decades. Even the West Coast enjoys that glory. So, son, it is the segment now for what's happening in blockchain.
Yeah.
So, we just came from a blockchain event. You got to see lots of people talking about what's happening today. You got to see a lot of booths. There must have been 200 plus vendors there, 10,000 people there. We took over all 4 halls of the largest convention center in all of Manila, the SMX. Which everything just seems so large there in Manila, and there's so many large things because there's so many people there. So anything stand out to you, either at the event or stuff that you've seen online regarding crypto, blockchain, Web3, etc.?
I think there was some cool stuff, but honestly, I think our booth was the best, to be honest, and not even trying to just
extraordinary booth.
say that.
Thanks to the Filipino team.
They did such a good job. I was so lucky I got to be part of that crew. And yeah, what we were working with was 2 tokens so that communities can come together around some kind of thing that they care about.
Right.
And then we also had a content creator platform called Attention Live that is focusing on letting people sell their audio as well instead of just like selling the NFTs that you've seen.
Yeah.
It makes it so that people can engage and almost have a platform with their followers and things like that to sell things other than just images.
Right.
And so those were some, I think, of the most important things there. But honestly, in my time doing all this blockchain stuff with you, I've never really like just dove into learning what the actual basics were.
Mhm.
And then the other day I was just sitting down because I had some time on my hands. And so I just looked up a bunch of the basic YouTube videos. And oh my gosh, blockchain is huge. Like I can see why there's not a lot of people in the space. But I kind of have a follow-up question to you. How do you think that like people can get into something that kind of has a big barrier of entry?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that one. It has such a big barrier of entry because it's so big. I mean, it's basically all of the information we can think about, packed together in a bunch of servers. So the thing I find most about blockchain is like we're needing to just create the trust values that we need to establish. Blockchain, I think it seems to be like uh, that everything's kept on digitally. But more importantly, we need to understand that the blockchain is just a new digital creation of pages and transactions that's kept into the block, which is in our cloud. And it's the cool thing about it is it's immutable. So as far as we know, I don't know if we'll ever figure out a way to be able to tap into every working computer that's online and see and make every computer agree to change one piece of information. So um, I'm excited as I keep learning. I haven't learned yet. I still think of myself as a novice, and at best, maybe I'm getting to an intermediate level. But there is a lot to be said about the block. Also, the smart contracts that are involved in it. I can't think of anything. We all know what a contract is, or just a voucher or something. You write your name on it, sign it. It's kind of putting yourself out there that you agree with whatever's there or whatever's being said, or that you're going to be at a place at a time, or you're going to pay for something for a certain amount. People sometimes get out of that situation. And with a smart contract, be very difficult to ever say, no, I didn't mean that, or no, that wasn't there, or that was unclear. Once these things are set in a contract form into the blockchain, that's it. There is no changing that. You'll have to create a new contract to do that. So I think that's going to be very useful for us as we lean into it.
Mhm.
I think that
cars.
transparency is super, super important. And I think it's a recurring theme that keeps showing up, at least to me. It's something that I've leaned into extremely heavily because for so long we didn't know and we didn't have an easy ability to know. To um Malachi's, point about like something that has a high barrier to entry, I think it starts with transparency. I believe that until we start,
Transparency is so important.
yeah, I mean, I think
Just the word transparent. How do you be transparent when you can't see, know where the person's at? We rely on having conversations with a visual so much because you have the use of discernment. You can see in their eyes they're twitching or they're not even engaging. The things they're saying to me doesn't seem very genuine or it's disingenuous. We're using that. So to what you're saying, Nigel, that transparency level is so key. But how do we get that visual when you can be in any place on the planet, hiding behind any desk in a closet or anything, using a pseudonym, using a VPN, or using whatever you want. It's just, the transparency still leaves room for malicious, nefarious
Well,
situations.
it
So
always does. Anything good and anything could go either way, but I think the accountability is on us and the folks who want to see this succeed because we see what it can be, the good parts of it. And by that, and you and I have, had many conversations about this. I think when you jump out in front of, instead of trying to convince someone of something, almost lean into, okay, well, if you can prove me wrong, go ahead. Good luck with that. I think
or
that
just
is
set the
where,
example. I think the best way is to set an example. If you can
yes.
lean something off of that you've done or experienced with it's same proof of concept, or it's proofs in the pudding kind of thing. So
Well, let me do a case in point right here. Like I'm gonna give this to you, Malachi. A question for you: what do you see as something that we may not be seeing as older folks that you may not get a chance to actually say directly? This could be better in this way, from my perspective, because I don't think those conversations happen enough, and it's why I'm so excited about having a cross generational sort of discussion here, where I
Mhm.
feel like more is going to come out of it. So go.
Yeah, I think another important thing is like there's so many big topics. Like we're here talking about smart contracts and blockchain, but I mean, not even I'm completely certain what blockchain really is. A smart contract is basically like what Dan was saying, it's a contract, but instead it's code. So just imagine anything you can do with a contract, but now it's code, and then you can bring in all the digital type things. And then blockchain is, as of what I know at least, it's basically the word decentralized. You decentralize everything by making it so that everything relies on each other, so that you have to confirm. You couldn't just hack one computer to get data. You'd have to hack every single one because they're all working almost like a beehive. And I think these different concepts can almost create this big barrier of entry. But once you learn what they are and you realize that it's just inevitable, they're going to happen. Like doing things decentralized is just the way that humanity should be. And so, as much as sometimes it can be a little confusing, simply learning it can be like the most useful thing. And I mean, I'm very glad that I've gotten to have the chance to learn it and been at the front lines of finding out about these things before they even happen.
Blockchain can be understood as ledgers. So it's said that Moses went to the mountain, Mount Sinai, and God used his finger to write 10 commandments for humans to live by. Moses comes down, he gets upset, he breaks the tablets. Ledger is gone. It's like deleting a file. He has to go back and get it again. Then we have ledgers where we're carving wood. It said that about 500 years ago, House of Lords, they were burning all their wooden ledgers with everyone's debt and getting ready to transition over to ledgers where you write on scrolls. And that caused a fire that ruined the house, where the House of Lords and the House of Commons meet. Then, of course, we have writing on paper. Then we have servers at our house. Then we have servers in the cloud, right? AWS from Amazon, GCS from Google, Azure from Microsoft. All that a decentralized blockchain is a ledger that's shared across so many different computers, validators, and independent servers that you can't stop it. You can't erase the ledger. You can't get rid of it. It lives forever because so many people, because that's the thing with Bitcoin as a decentralized finance tool, is there are so many different organizations and people that are involved in keeping the BitChain network going that there's no country or no business that could ever stop it. It's unstoppable because it's decentralized blockchain. And so that is the premise by which people can kind of think through.
Blockchain, blockchain as in
also the peer-to-peer concept
Yes,
of
very.
just getting rid of the guy. For instance, the one that really gets me in my mind that I can't stop thinking about is a home purchase. Everyone's biggest purchase that they do in their life is most likely going to be a home. And to do an escrow and a real estate contract, and then closing escrow, verifying dollar amounts, it takes weeks to hear someone come back and say, no, you just didn't make it. You just don't have enough credit. And to be shot down like that is just a tough thing to do. And spending 2 weeks in preparation, thinking that you're going to make this thing happen. And then it ultimately comes down to a giant entity, or, you know, a giant entity that says you're not meeting our criteria. So they're leaning, I think, didn't they, like in 2021, they had that in Florida, they had that one transaction that had gone through.
Yeah,
It was
real
peer,
estate house.
yeah. So they'll do peer to peer, like we'll be able to sell
Yeah.
our houses to each other.
That's right.
However, we're
Without
still,
middlemen.
yeah, without the middleman of the real estate agent or broker. Sorry, everyone out there who's in real estate. I didn't mean to say that, but you're still going to need a title transfer. So to do the documentation, that will go on blockchain also.
That's right. We'll be back again in a moment. Yeah, because they played the radio.
Nigel, can you hear me?
I can. I had a question. Ian, are we streaming on LinkedIn or no?
We are.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I got it streaming on X, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook.
We're LinkedIn to
I
LinkedIn.
I can add Instagram through here, but it disappears as soon as it's done. And I have to get a special code. So it's
Right.
not super convenient. So we usually just broadcast on X, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook for this. And this is the first time that I've done it without our producer, which is probably a nice thing. You know, he worked really hard to set us up so that we can come to all of you on the World Wide Web.
Thank you, Graham.
Yes, Grim
Yes,
and
sir.
Shout, they've been amazing. And man, they really sacrificed big time for the Philippine Blockchain Week. We went live 5 different times. We went live for like 15 hours of live content. I got to interview all the important
That's in
VIP
2 days.
speakers. Yeah.
So 48 hours, and we're sleeping for like at least 16-ish. 15 hours we're live streaming. That's so much time.
We went live, and I was happy. I did the 2 keynotes. I'm very happy with the impact that we had at Philippine Blockchain Week. Big time. Yeah.
On the last day, before you guys closed out, was it how was it received towards the end? Like, was it people understood what they were coming for? This is a repeat event. They're finally getting a grasp as to how everything's working. They're understanding the block better. They're understanding.
It was different for everybody there. It was much more of a consumer event. So in the past, it had been an event for businesses and kind of the
networking,
the wealthier, like more dressed up, more like business to business environment. This time it was definitely like common person coming in, and we're gonna get started again.
Cool.
I'll touch on it a little bit on our last segment. We're gonna jump into kind of past stories. Nigel, why don't we start with kind of us meeting face to face for the first time at NFT NYC?
Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My name is Ian Utilli. Welcome to Beachside Tech Talk here at 1340 AM KOMY, home of Schoolhouse Radio here in Santa Cruz County. This segment, we like to talk about past stories, things that are inspiring, heartwarming. Nigel, the first time you and I ever met face to face was at NFT NYC. I believe it was the end of 2021. It was right when the Bitcoin had hit its all-time high. Ethereum hit its all-time high in terms of the perceived shareable market value compared to the US dollar. And NFTs were at a peak frenzy. People are buying an NFT and selling it for 2 times or 10 times more money. And an hour later, it was becoming a cultural moment. I think NFT became the word of the year in 2021. And we were kind of riding this wave. And that's when I invited you to NFT NYC, and you spoke on the same stage that Gary Vaynerchuk spoke on. And, you know, that was an amazing time to see you on that big stage at the town hall where women really kind of won their right to vote. And it's a big part of the East Coast, certainly a big part of New York, that town hall. So share a story with us, Nigel. Share a story about you meeting Dan and I for the very first time in that context, and some of the cool things that we experienced together.
Well, I'm going to give a very quick backstory because I think this is so important, and it ties into what we were talking about before, the importance of actually developing relationship. I think I love technology. I love every aspect of it. I think there's so much value in it. But far beyond that is the human connection. And just to give a little context, you didn't even see a picture of me for quite some time before we started talking, because all I had was this little icon.
Avatar, the gratitude champion avatar.
Yeah, so that I still have to this day. And for all the folks who like, oh, you have to do this, there's no have to. What we have to, like, and have to is a strong word. If we believe we want to connect, we find commonality, which I think is there if we embrace it, if we want it. There's so many things that can happen. So from that, we came from just talking on Clubhouse, because that was another moment during that COVID period. And the magnitude of what needed to transpire for that event to even take place, with the mask and the vaccination, but all these things that had to come into place for that to happen. And that first moment walking in, even though we had never seen each other, but we'd done some things together. There was a lot of testing with Attention Live going on. To meet for that first time, you would think that you were my long lost brother from the tribe of wherever, for us to be, to embrace and just be like, wow, this is such a moment. And something else important happened on another platform, this Stereo. There was this group of guys who was doing this sports show, and it was their 1 year anniversary of doing the show consistently every week, every Sunday, sports on Stereo. And you were kind enough, and with the busy schedule, to call in on that show.
I remember that.
And just show some love to the folks that were there. So I think the biggest takeaway, the biggest story of all of that, and we had plenty of stuff, from the speaking engagements to the parties that were there, just like there was more swag at that event than I've ever seen. It was just a lot of fun and great energy. And it was at a time where I think the maximum amount of opportunity came to its full fruition. The Bored Ape Yacht Club was, big and at that time, but I still feel there's so much more to go into that. And when you see all these things come together, it just makes me excited about what can actually be there with just something that started with a simple human connection. So no matter where you are on your journey, if you lean into that accountability of our humanity first, I think the technology will follow for those of us who believe in it enough to help people get through to the next stage of that.
I just wanted to ask a quick question here to our panel. Do you know if the Bitcoin was created because of the financial crunch that we had in 2008?
It was. I mean, it was at least tied to that.
Not super specifically, but that was the perfect time to roll this out. You have an economy of a country that's in crisis. So you write a cryptographic page of digital security for money and a ledger.
What does cryptographic even mean?
It's like code. It's like
Just means code.
serial numbers, or they call it a hash graph on the blockchain. It's called.
Why was it that KOMY in Mission Impossible movie, the first one?
Yeah, so 1996, the Ving Rhames character, he
Mr. AI.
Yeah, he talks to Ethan Hunt, Tom Cruise's character. He goes, okay, they just meet for the first time. Okay, I'll help you out. They're there sitting with the professional. I'll help you out, but I want this computer with this cryptography. And so that was a pretty early time for cryptography to be talked about, because it was way before people thought through blockchain. Now, when Satoshi, whether that's a man, a woman, or a group of people,
right, whoever it is,
wrote the white paper, it was the real response is humanity's in crisis, not the US dollar's in crisis, not the American economy's in crisis, but humanity is in crisis. And so the Satoshi white paper could be summed up as humanity is in crisis because governments are leveraging a faith-based currency, because all that a currency is, whether the dollar, the pound, the yen, a Bitcoin or Ethereum, it doesn't matter. It's just a faith-based transactional tool to coordinate compensation and trade. That's all that it is. And so if you have faith in the American military and have faith in the American institution, then you put faith in the American dollar. And America does a lot of things to make sure that people maintain their faith in the American dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So Satoshi felt like humanity's in crisis. We're going the wrong direction. Everything's becoming more centralized. People are being debanked, not banked. People are being taken advantage of, not helped. And one thing that we can do is if we can just change the ability by which we coordinate value and compensation, just that one thing would spark a new road, a kind of a fork in the road moment. And because that has done so well over the course of the last 15 plus years that this has been in place, it has sparked now an entire revolution around this idea of decentralized finance.
The banking system itself is just so crazy. You know, you go to deposit a 5-figure, like a $10,000 or something, and they're going to put a hold on it for you. You're not going to be able to have it for at least 3 days. If it's on a Friday, maybe you'll get it next Tuesday. It's like what people run into an emergency situation and really need the money to come out now. What do you do?
Right.
It's like banks have put you in a position to where it's your money, but you feel like when you walk in the door to talk to a bank teller, you've got to ask for your money. Is it okay?
Right.
Is it okay if I have some of my money? Sure,
Right.
sure, it's okay, but that won't be available till Tuesday.
Right.
And you're like, what? That's it. I'm just going to buy another mattress and just stuff the mattress at home.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
That's such a
Any
hard. Okay.
No, please. I was just saying, any final thoughts you guys want to throw out before we hit the top of the hour? Go ahead, Nigel, please.
I feel like that's why this is inevitable. I think for the longest time, you know,
Inevitable.
call them
What a cool word.
gatekeepers.
It is.
Like, call it gatekeepers. Call like the level of transparency we would get to. Not to mention the amount of energy we would save, because there's a lot of friction in transactions. Just to go quickly touch back on the real estate piece of it. Think about it. If I had a used iPhone and I wanted to sell it to somebody, they look at it, they make sure it works, they turn it on, they give me the money, we're done. We go on our separate ways. But all these other transactions are taking forever, and then you got to worry. Am I being scammed? Is this like, that's a lot of energy that can be used for so much more valuable things. So that's why I feel like it's one of the reasons this is inevitable. And we're going to get there using blockchain and smart contracts and the ledger and being able to transparently see what's going on.
Right.
And I'll leave it there.
I'm going to share something as we wrap up just about Dad. It was Father's Day. This is Malachi's grandfather, Dan, and my father. I wrote, my dad, Gary, grew up without a father or either of his grandfathers in his life. The first time a man ever said, I love you to my dad was a pastor at his church that said, I love you to most of the young people in that community. But my dad became a great once in a generation father and now grandfather to 8 little Utilies. And hundreds of men that have worked for my dad or were his neighbors have looked to him as a father figure. And you might ask yourself how. My theory is that he followed Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus called the unseen, mysterious creator of all things Abba, which we translate today as Daddy. And in doing this, Jesus showed fatherless men like my dad that the one that we call God can be engaged with as a benevolent father. None of us know for sure what eternity is like. The only thing we can be sure of is that we'll be surprised. But I imagine that my dad's ancestors look down at him and say, I'm so proud he's my descendant. And I think that is something worth thinking about, you know, living a life of legacy. We'll be back again tomorrow, everybody.
Nice.
Nigel, thanks for joining us once again, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah,
guys.
We're still live with the internet.
This is getting better and better every time we do it.
That's because you're here, dude. You're like a fine wine.
Seriously.
I think you're being kind, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
Good. You better
Um,
take it.
I will say,
I gave that name to myself. If you were wondering,
you know, there's nothing like a good quotable.
I'm also called the sweet human being.
We call that the sweet one.
I gave you the sweet one.
That's a great
Yeah.
name.
Wait, where did that start? Because
Well,
that's the best name I've ever heard.
We just started saying it to each other.
I called him Sweet for a while, and then I sent him Sweet with the champion, with the gold one
Yeah.
champion pin. And somewhere along the line, that became the official
Sweet one.
nickname,
Yeah.
the Sweet One.
And now it's the best nickname ever.
We love the
This
Sweet
one.
One.
I don't think I know a nickname better than that.
Sweet One's a good nickname. Oh, the Gratitude Champion's a good nickname too.
Gratitude
Yeah.
Champion's good, but
I
The
didn't
man
get
who has
it
it.
would be nice if I could sit there and go, well, where'd you get your name Sweet One from?
I gave it
I
to
gave it to
myself.
myself. What do you think? Of course I did. I'm
It fit.
sweet.
So
Hi.
I just went with it.
Yeah, that was great.
One thing about Fridays, I had forgotten that
We have to.
Boring Jeff's in here at noon. Yeah. So I
Did you
posted-
call
I
him Boring Jeff?
Yeah, I called himself Boring Jeff.
Okay, we have the gratitude champion, the sweet one, and he's Boring
Well,
Jeff.
that's like his
When you said that right now, I'm like, I thought, like, wow.
radio
I was
name.
kind
Yeah.
of not,
Wow.
not,
Yeah.
not,
That's
himself.
What do they call us when we're not in the room?
Ding dong ding.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Monotony.
No, yeah, I don't know what.
Is it intentional?
is. Yeah, I don't know where that started. But anyway, sorry. Jeff.
So what time? How do we need to transition differently than last time?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was fine. I'm gonna load his commercials ahead of time before your show, so we won't have to. I won't have to get in there.
No, thank you.
Just as soon as the show's
Could-
off, just vacate if you can.
It-
At
could
least
we-
give him this spot?
Could we just push break 3 to 10:57:50?
For now, yeah.
Just on Fridays.
Yeah.
So just on Fridays, let's push break 3
Okay.
from 11:45.
57:50.
And
And
that-
you guys sign off. And
That way
goodbye.
he has an extra couple minutes to sit down.
Okay, that's thinking outside the box. That should be fine.
Cool. We'll just do that for
Yeah.
Fridays.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and then we'll still transition at 10:45 or 11:45. Yeah, at 11:45. I am so messed up with time right now. We'll still transition from blockchain to stories. So we'll have a transition.
Mad break.
We're still live with the internet. Hello, internet. We're just hanging out, talking to our producer Kristen in here.
We got to think of a name for the internet. It's just nuts, just too unacceptable when you're saying hello
W
to your
squared?
viewers.
No, W
Hello.
cubed?
How about the?
We'll think about it.
Okay,
It'll be done by tomorrow.
okay.
Hello, internet is so drab.
Yeah.
How about the?
You mean like when
When
it's Nigel's turn? to
Well,
talk?
well,
No, we're because we're live on the internet.
And now I can't hear anything. What happened? I can hear no one.
I'm back. We
Okay.
said we needed an internet name. How about like the bitch and Beachsiders?
Wait, but you're not allowed to say curse words, right?
This is just the internet.
You could say bitching, I think, on this one.
You can probably say bitching on the air,
Probably.
but there's definitely like a good solid dozen words you cannot say on the internet. I mean,
100%.
on the AM radio.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no way.
it's pretty well regulated. They're not fooling around. Yeah, here you go.
No doubt.
All right. Well, we got to think of a nickname for all of our
We're gonna think
bitch
about
and
it.
Beachsider internet
Nigel,
friends.
you think about it too. Instead of saying hello to the internet community, hi, how are you?
You know, the internet can drop names if you
That's
want
all.
to.
Yeah, we need something that's transcendent, that transcends all of this.
I'm naming us.
Did you ask AI?
Yeah.
Come on, you guys.
I know.
You're
I
talking
know.
about it a lot. Let's ask the team of 6 who we use.
Well,
Yes.
we'll be back again in about 23 hours. And Ted is in Portugal, so he may come and join us on Thursday. We're all heading to New York next week, all being me, Malachi, Kenny, Nathan, and Riza in here. It looks like a half dozen people from the CIK project will be coming. So maybe more people will end up joining us. I'm pretty excited about NFT NYC.
Yeah.
You and Nathan and Kenton are all dropping your first NFT projects. Pretty extensive, the work that we've done around that. That should be pretty fun. That's Riza's doing the keynote at the end of day 1 to talk about how you guys have collaborated as a family using AI. That'll be rad. I'm doing the closing keynote on tokenized communities, which I basically tried 3 different approaches in the Philippines. So I really got my wiggles out. I got like a good solid
Got your wiggles out for
77 minutes of spontaneous talking about it. So now I just got to isolate it down into 10
And
slides.
it's very intense. So intense.
Oh,
You-
did you have to yell at anybody like you did when we were at that other one?
I was pretty intense. I was
Fair.
I was going for it
Yeah.
all 3 talks. Yeah.
Were you
Okay.
were you saying, "Give me your wallet" to anybody?
No,
No,
he
I'm
just
not-
cared
Okay,
about
not
what he
that
was
intense.
talking
I'm not that. I was
Yeah.
intense in terms of my passion.
about. He was like the only one talking who wasn't asking for something. You were just trying to give people.
I never push a product or service on
important,
the
like,
stage.
advice.
It's nobody cares. Nobody watching live, nobody that watches online, even later, they don't care about your product or service. They don't care. They care about their thing. Now, if you have a solution for their problem, great. But that doesn't usually translate that great during a presentation. And the reason why people push products and services when they do keynotes is because they were hired by a company that pays them a wage and they are owned by somebody's time. And that company that owns them, that paid for their hotel, paid for their flight, bought their food, gave them a salary, gave
They're
them
obligated to do
they
a
are obligated
performance.
to perform
Right.
for them so that that company can take that person's talk and slice the 45-second vertical to push this product and the 15-second story to push this service. For me, it's a bit different because I'm a co-producer of these events. I have unlimited stage. So I can talk about anything I want pretty much anytime I want.
Yeah.
So I don't have like this, I have 5 minutes on the stage, I better push my product or service. It's like,
Yeah.
I got 30 minutes to do my keynote. I'm going to talk about big philosophical ideas about where we're at or where we're going or how we got here and try to weave in. Now, ultimately, my talk, Tokenized Communities, certainly can help the CIK and the Kiki project. They certainly can help any NFT project I'm involved in. They certainly can help anything that we have planned moving forward into the future.
Mhm.
But the point of it is not to push something. The point of it is to try to change a person's mind, how they think about themselves and where things are presently at, where things are going, so they make better decisions. Nigel taught me all
indeed.
that.
Yes, indeed.
Better decision making
Better
through
decision.
conversation. You know,
I know.
you never know where those ideas are going to come from. You know,
Right.
it's such an important piece of it. And I think that opens the door to those conversations that may involve a product that's not even invented yet, that you may invent.
Right.
You know, that's, you know, so what I'm looking forward to, and I'm realizing this now more than anything else, just in the 4 of us sitting here, is the difference in perspective. Because, my son and I would always talk about this thing called, transcending the generations. And I always believe that that with more generations in the room, we get wiser.
Right.
Because we get to see different perspective. But I don't think the conversations are supported and allowed to flourish. I'm looking forward to Malachi going, I think you guys got this all wrong, at least from my perspective. Here's another way to think about it. And not to be, salacious or polarizing or, I think it's an important thing, because unless we are allowed to speak what it is we see, how can anybody else take it seriously enough to pour into it or even explore it, consider it, which I think is where we have the most value.
Yep. I agree with you. Malachi, why don't you take us home? Grab that mic and say goodbye to the internet.
Well, thank you for giving us your time. Time is very valuable, and we're glad that our voices got to fill it for you. So I hope that you enjoyed it, and we'll be here tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. And I hope they're going to be even better than today. So thank you.